Thank you for letting me come and talk. In the original program, it was the Research Council that had this slot. What I am going to say is not the same as they would have said. I have another perspective, but parts of it will touch upon the policies of the Research Council. And they actually, I have allowed them to read my manuscript, so they have said there's nothing here that is totally wrong, seen from our perspective. I work in an institution that is officially called the University of Tromsø, the Arctic University of Norway. So we shortened it to UiT, the Arctic University of Norway. It's long enough. I am one of 5 full-time open access employees of the university. We have 1 PhD student, and then there are 4 of us actually doing work. And I have one of my colleagues with me today, Isa. Where are you? There you are. Isa in the back there. She will probably attend more of these conferences. Yes, that is us, the people. Then who are we? Well, the name you already have. We are an all-round university. We were established by Act of Parliament in 1968, and we started operations in the early 1970s. We have, in recent years, merged with 2 university colleges, and there is now a minister who has an idea that big is beautiful, so there is a new round of mergers going on in Norway. We will merge with 2 more colleges during this year, so from the 1st of January we will be a 5-campus operation. We have nearly 12,000 students and nearly 3,000 employees. And we are the world's northernmost university. Going to conferences in Europe, I often see this map of Europe. And on this map of Europe, we are now in northwest Europe. There's only a slight detail missing there, and that is Tromsø. The red spot, that is where I live. And suddenly we are now in Central Europe. And if we add this group of islands, which is also part of Norway, there's a small higher education institution up there in Spitsbergen, we are suddenly in Southern Europe. Do we add Greenland, which is politically a part of Denmark, we are in the far southeastern part of Europe. So it's all a matter of perspective. And we are also we are the world's northernmost university. For the Americans, we're about the same latitude as Point Barrow, Alaska. And we are a leading open access institution in Norway. So that was us, the Norwegian open access landscape. There are 8 universities in Norway, and there are 8 specialized university institutions. 20 colleges, which mainly educate people at the bachelor level, that is nurses, teachers, engineers, business administrators. 9 private colleges, more than 50 research institutes that have some kind of basic public funding. There are 4 regional health authorities. 40 of the 45 higher education institutions have an institutional repository today. And the 5 that have no repository are among those who are going to be merged away by New Year's Eve. So by the end of the year, all higher education institutions will have repositories, but there will be fewer than today. And only a small fraction of the research institutes have an institutional repository. Norwegian Research Council has an open access requirement in the contracts. In 2013, there was a government white paper that demands open access for all publicly funded research in Norway, and this was accepted by Parliament at the end of the spring session in 2013. And of course, an increasing number of institutions have local open access policies. There are, as you may know, 2 major paths to open access. There's the green one. Well, the Research Council and institutional policies, and that also goes for the white paper, they do not prefer gold over green. Green is equally good at satisfying open access requirements. All institutions with an institutional repository encourage green open access, of course, and many have a local policy or a mandate. The success rate is low. The 2014 numbers shows that in the higher education sector, which is the successful one, we have an 11% success rate. 11% green open access is what we have achieved, which is not impressive. The numbers vary between 0 and 55%. And these numbers include self-archived gold open access. Numbers are growing, but painfully slowly. Until this year, we got numbers now this summer that indicates that the uploading of full text to the National Christian is about double at this time this year as it was last year at the same time. So it indicates that self-archiving is growing. And I think I should say that my opinion is that success in self-archiving is not a matter of how strong a policy you have, but a matter of how willing you are to put manpower into something actually happening. Contacting researchers, pestering them with emails, telephone calls, educating them, etc. So a policy is necessary, but it's a starting point. It's putting manpower and money into activities that actually helps. Then there is the other path to open access, the gold path. What we do in Norway is that we support local open access publishing. 5 of the larger institutions have established local publishing infrastructures based on open journal systems for local journals. There's the low life, the small journal, usually in the humanities or social sciences on subjects that few have ever heard about, but that has an audience, it has authors, and it's a good thing to have this published. For instance, we have something called the Septentrial Academic Publishing in Tromsø. That is one of my hats. We publish 8 small journals. And for those interested, there's a Nordic list of such journal hosting possibilities that has been in operation in the Nordic countries. We're not alone about this. That's one way to support open access, the gold. Other one is publishing in open access journals. And they have support in 2 ways. One is to teach our researchers to put money for APCs in their grant applications, and the other is to pay for APCs when there is no external funding available through publication funds. I'll come back to publication funds, but because there's something has happened in Norway. 16 higher education institutions have open access publication funds today, and all of the universities have them. It started in 2010. A couple of smaller institutions established funds. We established our fund in 2011, and we've been very active promoting what we have been doing. The government white paper in 2013 pointed to our fund and said that you should do likewise. And after the white paper, most of the 16 funds have been established. And as far as I know, all these funds have been established with new money. This is not money taken from the library budgets, but the boards have found financing for them. And I could also say that in the merger wave coming, most of the institutions not having a publication fund will be likely to disappear. So it's having a publication fund is a sign of good health and long life for an institution, in Norway at least. Could be that it's a sign that you should try to inoculate yourself against mergers by establishing a fund. And in general, the rules and regulations for these funds are the same. They are generally a copy of the ones I wrote for the University of Tromsø. Very mechanic, there's no decision making. There are 3 requirements. There is a corresponding author affiliation to the institution. There is the journal has to be registered in the Director Open Access Journal, and it has to be accredited in the Norwegian higher education financing system. I'll come back to that. So the time needed to process an application is generally 120 seconds. So the turnaround rate is very quick. The fund is not yet another 2-week wait for the author. The accreditation system in Norway There's a lot that I could say about it. I tried to do it short. Then short is not possible. But Norwegian higher education institutions, research-producing organizations, and health institutions receive part of their financing based on how much they publish in accredited journals or book series. And accreditation is based on having an acceptable quality assurance system or process in place for journals read peer review. And accreditation or not is decided by a committee based in the Norwegian Association of Higher Education Institutions. It's a secretariat at the Norwegian Social Science Data Services. They maintain a register of such journals, a white list containing currently more than 23,000 journals that have been accepted. There's some top-level journals that is accredited at level 2, ordinary journals at level 1, and the difference is that there's more funding available when you publish in a level 2 journal. It's a factor of 3. And one publication point is today worth about 3,500 euros for your institution in financing to the institution. Some of this financing might come back to a budget near the author. That is how you incentivize the authors to publish in the right journals. And for the publishers here, there's a structural problem. The high-impact journals, level 2, only 1% of the open access journals that are accredited is on level 2. 10% of the traditional journals are on level 2. So there is a job to be done there. So with this in mind, if you have a new journal to cite an old book, perhaps the worst plight of a vessel is to be caught in a gale on a lee shore. In this connection, the following rules should be observed. Never allow your vessel to be found in such a predicament. And the same goes for an open access journal. First steps in establishing it, get an ISSN, apply for the DOAJ listing, and apply for accreditation in the Norwegian system. The Norwegian system is open, it's available on the internet, anyone can register and apply to have a journal accredited. Because it's so open, it's also used by other countries. So it has an impact beyond Norway. So any open access journal which misses one of these two signs of quality can't receive any manuscripts from a Norwegian author who knows what he's doing. And he probably won't receive any from Sweden either, because the Swedes unofficially use our list. And there's a surprising lack of awareness about this, also among major professional publishers, some of them represented here with us today. And I noticed when I try to contact them, there's a surprising lack of contact points that you could talk to try to inform them about this and make them start the process of applying for registration in the DOAJ or in the Norwegian accreditation system. So any publisher who wants more information, you have my name, you have my face. Okay, then the Norwegian Research Council and open access. It's a long history. They have a clause in their contracts requiring open access. And they recently sharpened their policy. Now they say we can withhold project funds if the open access requirements haven't been met. And they signal a stronger willingness to use this possibility in the coming years. And they have recently increased their capability to follow up whether the researcher has actually done what they have promised to do. Until now, APCs have been allowed costs in projects. But there's a lot of problems with that. For instance, the post-project problem. So they started in 2014 something called the STIM OA, which is stimulating open access. It's a new funding scheme from 2014 to 2019, where they set aside what was originally about 1 million euros, but due to the currency exchange rates is now 900,000 euros, to refund about 50% of the institution's APC costs. And this is not tied to projects from the Norwegian Research Council. They say, we fund about 50% of Norwegian research, so we will fund half of the total cost of APCs in Norway. And that takes care, for instance, of the problem with what articles published after the project has been finalized, for instance. And of course, journals must be accredited in the financing system and registered in the direct open access journals, so there is no hybrid financing at all in this model. And interestingly, they say, higher education institutions will only have a refund if they have a fund. No fund, no refund. So that's a direct order to all institutions, get yourself a fund. And what they say that they will set aside sufficient funds for the whole period to cover 50% of the institution's costs. Period. For 2014, the institutions received about 3 million kroners, which indicates that they had a spending of 6 million. But there is a strong growth expected. Funds are new. It takes time for new funds to be known in the institution. And we expect new funds. And due to the merging process, the existing funds will cover larger parts of the sector. And we also see growth in the use of gold open access. Everything points to that cost will grow. From 2020 on, the Research Council says we expect then that all open access costs will be included in the overheads on the project, just like your journal subscriptions are today. So this scheme is to help transitioning to gold open access, not to finance gold open access, to speed up the process. The Research Council will continue to support both green and gold open access without having a preference for the one or the other, but they have a distinct non-preference for hybrids. We're very pleased to see that the Dutch have now removed their support for hybrids. This one could be one exception to this, and that is the offsetting. I know that the National Consortium will start discussions about what to do with offsetting schemes. So that could be a way that Norway also will start financing hybrid. But that will be money coming from the library budgets and not from the funds. So does open access publication funds work? Well, we started over, and it's the yellow line. Oh, that wasn't very visible here, I see. The lower line that you might see from the back shows that we started our fund. We had roughly 8% gold open access until 2010, a slight increase in 2011, and from 2012 on, we reached 16%. And last year, we actually passed 20% gold open access for the institution as a total. Our health faculty passed 30%. This is figures and numbers from only one institution. It's difficult to say, is this a general rule? But this figure indicates that the establishing of an efficient open access fund actually could increase the uptake of gold open access in the institution. So if you're a publisher, you should advocate publication funds or similar efficient mechanisms for financing open access. And another point is, how has our fund developed? Number of lines here in the years in ascending order, but the point is that from year to year, the expenditure of the fund has doubled each year until this year. We're now in the 5th year of operations. Everything looks like we have spent the first 4 years marketing the fund amongst our authors. Now everyone who needs it has realized we have it. The growth we are now seeing is growth in the use of open access, gold open access, and not in the use of the fund as such. The growth is not as big as it might look. It's also a matter of exchange rates. The kroner has declined towards both the pound, the euro, and the dollar. So the number of articles so far this year is about the same as last year. And now, if you want to know more about our open access, and I expect so, we have a conference at the end of November in Tromsø. We want you to attend it. Both I and Isa have flyers. Some of you have been pestered with them already, but you're welcome to come and get more. We have a good list of good speakers, and as you might have realized, Tromsø is at the end of the world, so it's well worth seeing. You can follow us on the internet. I should think that some of you might recognize some of the names on the list here. Okay, as we used to say, if you have a problem, you usually find the answer at the university library, so just contact us, please. Please do.